Let me take you to this story. Scores of fishermen have flocked to the south coast for the annual Sardine Run. Yesterday, a number of nets were pulled at Margate, and it's much of the same at Sardine Beach today. Let me take you to senior ENCA reporter Dessen Tatia, who has been joining in with all that action in the south coast. Dessen, I was watching you off air. You were in deep reflective thought, and it looked to me like you are just reflecting on just how bad your fishermen's skills are. You are not doing as greatly as those two people behind you are. Despite, it being the Sardine Run, it should be quite easy for you, but I get the sense that you are struggling still.
Tulas, actually you're wrong. I was thinking about my dinner plans for tonight after going out there to the Sardine area and seeing them pulling in all of those sardines on a net. So we are back in Durban now. The sardines are some way away. We've made our way back this way, but eventually, this is the hope that they will travel all along this coastal band. Remember, yesterday they started off in Margate. That was where the first net was brought in. But there it was a very brief period because those fish, you know how elusive they are. They tend to make their way up the coast and they move from area to area. It's almost a moving target. I spent some time talking to the fishermen today, the guys that are really good at this stuff. And they were saying to me that, it's all about timing. It's all about being able to spot the fish in the water. I was talking to one of them today and he was looking out into the water and he says, can you see that? Can you see those black patches in the water? And honestly, I couldn't see it, but he could, and he knew that's what the sign was to say that they were going to be closer to the shore in a little while. So it was a complete frenzy today at Sardine. That's where another net was brought in. The fishermen that had been there patiently waiting managed to get a few crates out of that. But Tulas, this is an extremely difficult time, especially if you're planning to buy it, because the prices are still very high. Initially in Margate, it was about 1,500 Rand for a crate. And that price is expected to go down based on how long the sardines are here for and exactly how many of them are caught eventually.
Yeah, and that's an important thing that you mentioned right at the end there, Dessen. There's always these forecasts of, how good will the Sardine Run be this year or, compared with the previous years. What's the word on the street? What's the word at the beach, in terms of how good or how it will compare with previous years?
Well, it's promising to be a good one, and it's also drawn in people from other parts of the country, even as it does annually. Some years those silvery fish have actually abandoned this coastline, and we didn't see them on certain years. But this year, the talk on on the shores is that they will be here, and there are going to be good nets that are brought in, especially for those that do this and wait for this period. I mean, this is an entire business to us. For these 2 months or so, there are people that are employed specifically for this job of assisting fishermen bring in all of those fish, and then they put them into crates and they sell them off. And there are others that just come here purely to watch the spectacle unfold during this period, especially when they hear that the fish have shown themselves. I hope we can listen into some of those interviews that I did with the people that I found at the beach today, who traveled from far away just to come and take a look at what the sardines had to offer here.
Wonderful to see it. I'm from Gauteng, so it's the first time I've seen this live now.
What's your experience been like watching all of this?
Oh, it's very nice. And all the people, they are so on one thing. They want the sardines. I mean, it's money for them, maybe or food on the table for them.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Well,
lastly, Dessen, locate all of this within the context, because while it's a beautiful spectacle of nature, we always have to come back to the realism of the situation we are dealing with. The KwaZulu-Natal economy and economic activity having been so hit with various crises recently, the flooding, COVID-19 and the lockdowns, as well as the unrest that happened in July last year, I imagine that authorities there will take anything that resembles some kind of activity that draws people to KwaZulu-Natal, and if those silvery fish will do it, they'll take it.
Exactly. I mean, we'll take exactly what we can get right now. And generally, it is quite quite a good thing for particularly the establishments along the south coast. And that's particularly special because over the past few years, you know that the economic movement has kind of shifted to the north. So this normally happens on the band along the south. And once again, it is drawing in people, but maybe not as many people as it has in the past. Some people are here purely because they had taken some extra time off around the public holiday that we saw. But others are here specifically for this. Unfortunately, we always look at these numbers post-COVID and post the unrest, and they're not as high as they previously were. But certainly anything at this point, as you mentioned, is going to be good for the KZN economy.
Yeah, certainly, especially where rand changes hands between those people that do the fishing and people that will want to buy. You said how much is a crate at the moment in the South Coast?
Well, Tulas, if you want to fork out between 1,000 to 1,500 rand for a crate, you're more than welcome to buy it. But eventually, towards the end of the season, that drops down to about 200 or 300 rand or so.
All right, let's see how that goes. Thank you for that. That's ENCA's Dasan Dathia out there in Durban with an update on the Sardine Run and watching how it's all unfolding. And of course, hopefully, this spurs at least some modicum of economic activity that adds to whatever the efforts are that are underway in KwaZulu-Natal to try and recover from the devastation of recent months.